Welcome to In the Trenches with Dave Lapham, brought to you by First Star Logistics. We're talking position groups as the Bengals have settled in on a 53-man roster. It could be tweaked a little bit as the battle to open the season against the Minnesota Vikings approaches on September 12th, but it's pretty much set. The 46-man roster, I think, is set. Maybe some tweaks on the 53-man roster, but 7 of them are going to be deactivated for game day anyway. So here we go. Offensive linemen, the most scrutinized position on the football team. They're under the microscope, and they'll be under the microscope all season long. Jonah Williams at left tackle put on some weight in the offseason. I think it was a great move. I think he's got much more anchor ability. He didn't lose any of his quickness, any of his footwork. I think that Jonah Williams is going to advance with the techniques that Frank Pollock is teaching him. I think Frank Pollock is putting more tools in Jonah Williams' toolbox, and this guy was a very high first-round draft pick for a reason, and I think that he's going to start to blossom at that left tackle position. Needs to stay healthy. Didn't miss a game in his college career, but he's had some injury issues here with the Cincinnati Bengals. Hopefully those have ended, and maybe with the bigger body, that may help him maybe avoid some of those injuries. We'll see. He's the starting left tackle. At the guard position, one of the starters, Quinton Spain, big, powerful body. There's no question about it. This guy has got some physicality to him, and he's got position versatility. He can play either guard, and he can play either tackle in a pinch as well. And he was the player that was probably the most dramatic impact was last year at the Tennessee Titans when the Bengals won that football game. They had 4 new starters in the offensive line. He'd only been there 2 days. He'd only practiced. He hadn't even practiced with the first unit. I mean, he went in the huddle against the Tennessee Titans, and he was introducing himself and finding out the first names of all these other guys. Literally, this guy, they picked him up off the street and put him in the game at guard against the Tennessee Titans. And Billy Price, who was the center in that football game, basically gave him instructions and directives how to which way to go and translating some of the calls, and it was amazing. Billy Price got a game ball for doing what he did, but Quinton Spain was an unbelievable performance in that football game. Veteran player. Obviously, coaches feel like they can rely and count on Quinton Spain to get things done. Trey Hopkins back at the center position. What a remarkable story he is. He has gotten Pro Bowl consideration. He's that good a player. Very long arms, uses that leverage as well as anybody. Extremely intelligent, makes all the line calls. Joe Burrow feels very confident with Trey Hopkins in front of him, directing the offensive line for protections and all the things that the center is responsible for. And for him to recover as quickly as he did from his torn ACL, he injured January of this year, the last regular season game, in the second half at the end of the football game. And for him to be back and ready to go and participating against the Minnesota Vikings is a heck of a testament to what he's all about, both mentally and physically. Trey Hopkins back at the center position. Xavier Su'a-Filo, another veteran lineman who has a great understanding of what life's like in the National Football League, what it's supposed to look like in the National Football League. Very quick study. He can play multiple positions as well. And position versatility is always a big deal in the National Football League. And he's a big believer in what Frank Pollock's teaching from hand placement and techniques and footwork. Xavier Su'a-Filo, I think, is going to have a big year for the Bengals this season as well. The Bengals' big pickup in the offensive line, Riley Reiff, going into his 10th season. He's played on some successful football teams. Riley Reiff knows what success is supposed to look like from a team standpoint in the NFL. And this guy is just a hard-nosed, be there every snap, one of those kind of guys that you can just plug him in, and every single week he's going to line up out there at the tackle position for you. He's played left tackle. He's moving over to right tackle in the Cincinnati Bengals lineup of things, and he's a leader on and off the football field. Watching him at practice, he's the first guy from one drill to the next. He's the oldest guy in the field, but he's the first guy running from one drill, making sure that he's the first guy to step up in the next drill. He's got a big impact, a big influence on that offensive line in a very, very positive way. Deonte Smith made a huge impact as a rookie. Deonte Smith is very mature as a football player and as an individual, as a human being. I think the biggest thing that Deonte Smith did, in my eyes, everybody's going to have a bad snap, but how do you recover from that? Do you have short-term memory? Are you over it? And then the very next play, can you go out and perform at a high level? He was able to do that better than almost any rookie I saw at any position for the Cincinnati Bengals in training camp. He didn't carry it over. One play didn't become 2 bad plays or 3 out of 5 bad plays. I mean, when he had a mistake, it was done, corrected, over with, and he moved on. And I think that's what I'm talking about in terms of football maturity. Plus, he's another guy that's got some length, some long arms. I think he's going to be a factor. He'll get some snaps for the Cincinnati Bengals inside at the guard position, and he can play tackle as well. That's his natural position coming out of college. Big Fred Johnson, he's be playing some snaps. Will he be the swing tackle, or will Isaiah Prince be the swing tackle? That's to be determined. One of them may be deactivated on game day, obviously, but Big Fred is a powerful human being, big, strong, long, not as quite athletic, maybe a little bit stiffer than Isaiah Prince. Isaiah Prince is very long as well, probably not quite as strong as Fred, but more athletic. He has a little bit more of an ability to bend and do some things athletically. So both of those guys give the Cincinnati Bengals some good quality and good characteristics that you need to have to be able to play tackle in the National Football League as backup tackles. Trey Hill, he won the job. He traded Billy Price because of what Trey Hill did at training camp. Trey Hill is a guy that can play center and guard, and he's very stout. His lower body is very thick and very strong. He's not going to get bull rushed. He's a very fluid football player, and he just won the coaching staff over by his play. You get better every single week, and Trey Hill will the Bengals feel comfortable. If they didn't feel comfortable with Trey Hill backing up Trey Hopkins, the Treys at center, they wouldn't have traded Billy Price. Believe me, they would have not pulled the trigger on that trade. So they have utmost confidence there. Jackson Carman, 2nd-round pick out of Clemson, local kid out of Fairfield. He's starting to understand what it takes to play in the National Football League, transitioning from tackle to guard, and understanding. He calls it the peripheral vision aspect of playing inside can be different, and he's starting to get a feel for the traffic patterns and the traffic flow in there. And he's a very powerful man, though. When he gets his technique down, when he gets his footwork down, when he gets his feet on the ground, literally gets both feet on the ground, I think he's going to start to take off. He's playing better and better and better on a weekly basis. So Jackson Carman will give them some depth inside. This offensive line is very, very young in the backup position. You know, you got 4 rookies in there, basically, well, 3 rookies, and Fred Johnson hasn't played all that much football at the tackle position, and neither has Isaiah Prince. Their depth is not real experience depth, but it's young, it's youthful, and the big thing is Frank Pollock, as the offensive line coach, has faith in their ability, and they have faith in what he's teaching them from a technique standpoint, and there's trust, and that's a big thing. It's a big word, and Frank trusts his players, and his players trust Frank. That's what it's all about up front in the offensive line.
Hi, Dave Lapham here. Have you heard about In the Trenches with Dave Lapham, presented by First Star Logistics? Catch new episodes from the world of sports and broadcasting. Search for In the Trenches with Dave Lapham on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts.